morning, everybody. Dear Mr. Chairman, my dear friend, Dr. Anurag Batra, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor and a true pleasure for me to address this assembly today. If I have been invited to speak to you, it is less due to my expertise in the field of retail, rather than the 15 years of my family's practical experience in pioneering a new segment of the bakery, pastry, and salon de thé. This is the French word for tea room business in India. And having created literally from scratch a brand which has become the foremost amongst its peers and generally acclaimed as the best in its category. The L'Opera story is not only one of retail, which is the backbone of our activities, with 17 operating outlets at the present and 4 additional ones in different stages of planning or fit-out, but also one of a production and distribution of very delicate products. Those of you who have seen a bit of pastry, you know this is very often like a piece of art, which has to be created and which has to be transported with all the challenges that we know in India, from the climate, from temperature, from the condition of the roads and the vehicles, etc. So it has to comply and satisfy the highest standards of quality, authenticity, consistency day after day, and present to the customers and patrons in an environment commensurate with the high standards we have set for ourselves and which has become over the years the natural expectation of a demanding customer base. Now, please allow me first to remind ourselves among some of the basic facts. India is a very large and growing market. Nobody challenges this anymore for almost all types of products and services. Those segments of the market which we are addressing today and which are subject of this conclave comprise consumers who are experiencing a growing purchasing power, which combined with the growth of their size and the numbers represents an attractive opportunity for nearly all types of industrial activity and services. Now, the demand in India is very diverse, so far as it extends from the lower end, simple and unsophisticated customers for products and services to the very top, exclusive, and I would rather say luxury end of the market. You can visualize this by thinking from the street vendors up to the malls, which we mentioned, like the Emporio or the Chanakya, which are really the high end of the market. And we have in the urban setting everything between these two extremes. The markets are also far from being saturated. This means that there is currently, and for many more years, if not to say for many decades, ample opportunity for initiatives in almost all areas of activity. So we are far from losing the opportunity of creating and producing new products and services. Now, as to the challenges of the retail activity in India, and I would like to specify that I am particularly specifically addressing the offline segment, the real brick and mortar, and less the online segment, which other speakers will address. We can identify the following areas which need to be improved if the sector is to realize its full potential. In my humble opinion, one of the most critical factors is the availability of retail space, commensurate with the exploding demand. Compared to more organized markets, the available retail space is absolutely inadequate and not in sync with the growing needs of the retail sector. But again, as I mentioned, we are speaking about the offline brick and mortar sector. The problem is particularly acute in high streets, whereby a combination of limited offer, greedy and uncaring landlords, and finally, inexistent, insufficient, or poorly enforced regulation severely hampers the available commercial space or obliges the businesses to take unnecessary risks just to pursue their activities. When I say unnecessary risks, it means to operate on the fringes of the rigor framework or not having the proper licenses or taking unnecessary risks. Lack of clearly defined urban and zonal planning, which is not keeping pace with the growth of the ever-expanding tissue of urban spaces, is another challenge which definitely limits the availability of adequate retail space. I was just reading in the latest issue of the Business World an interview with Mr. K.P. Singh, the founder of the DLF group, and he was saying India needs to create the equivalent of one Chicago city every year. So now you can imagine what it takes to create the equivalent of one Chicago city every year. At the crossing point of production and retail, we find some other challenges which are not only limited to our area of interest, but which are relevant to the economy in general. These are the availability of progressive financial services, particularly credit limits, without double, triple, 4 times collaterals, and based on business plan. This is where you find in Europe or United States very often young entrepreneurs who have a solid business plan, they can go with their business plan to the bank and secure the necessary credit limits without having to produce very, very large collaterals to obtain credits. We lack also reliable infrastructure of services as utilities. Very often in retail, you are obliged to have standby generators. Sometimes you have issues with the supply of water and other services, and also a reliable supply chain, that you can count on your suppliers to deliver your raw materials, your ingredients, day after day with the same quality and regularity. Last but not the least, the absence of dedicated educational institutions and the resulting absence of qualified staff for retail activities. Today, retail activity, anybody thinks they can do retail. But in more developed countries, there are schools. You start reading, you have an internship, you learn how to retail. There is a whole science to that. This puts the onus of training and grooming the required manpower on the businesses themselves, a task which becomes a real challenge given the incidence of personnel turnover in this particular area of activity. It is against this backdrop that some 15 years ago, upon our son Laurent's initiative, our family embarked upon the project which became today's L'Opéra. One of the main characteristics of this family business was that during the 18 months of market studies, business planning, this is an advice for young entrepreneurs, don't jump and think you can do and start a business after 2 months, 3 weeks, etc. It took us 18 months, and if I'm not mistaken, we spent over $150,000 in even before deciding to start our business. And broad consultations, we elaborated a very clear long-term vision of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do that. The first is encapsulated in our vision, which I will share with you, and the latter, it was the how to do it. It was summarized in 10 core values of L'Opéra, which formulated not as an afterthought or a nice poster that you want to hang on a wall, and but as the foundation of our business, like a guiding principle. These core values define l'Opéra. Some have been achieved, some are still work in progress, but all are the focus of our daily attention and efforts. As many things in life, the implementation of the core values is not a straight, advancing, climbing line. There are definitely setbacks along the path, yet we follow the beacon and we move towards this direction. Now, please allow me to take you rapidly through the l'Opéra story specifically with the help of some slides that I will share with you. Hopefully it will, yes. So the first thing, as I mentioned, the vision that we defined, and all these things were not done as afterthought. They was really during those 18 months of preparation. We wanted opera to be a high-end, authentic pastry and pâtisserie, boulangerie, and salon de thé specialized in French products. Our vision was to be the most recognized symbol of French culinary culture in India, and their customer base, our clientele, which we were aiming, they are the upper class, they are the global Indians, there are the expats, diplomats, and also this growing number of higher middle class Indians who want to experience and discover new products and services. Now, I mentioned about the 10 core values. This is, if somebody asks me what is l'Opéra, I say l'Opéra are these 10 core values. The first one is commitment to excellence and quality. Those of you who are our customers, who have followed us over the last, we opened our first outlet in March 2011 in Cannes Market, and now it's 12 years. I can assure you, and you can testify, that the quality of the products today is exactly the same, if not better, as it was in the first day. And this comes at a cost. It is really the daily commitment to quality and excellence. And the wonderful thing is that the customers, they reward you. In our business, 95% of the people that visit our outlets are repeat customers, 95%. This speaks volumes. The second one is transparency and honesty, which we have put because we believe unless you have an honest and transparent business, you may be successful in the short run and medium run, but you will never be there for decades or generations, which is one of our objectives. Then we have gender equality. I am very happy there is a special issue of Business World about women. So we really believe it. This is one of the foundations of l'Opéra's operation. Then we have the word courtesy, particularly in the service sector. You need to exercise courtesy between and within the company and between the company and its customers. So courtesy is a very, very important quality. Then we wanted and we still encourage collaboration and mutual respect. We don't like a company culture where everybody's fighting and trying to make space with its elbows. We believe the challenges are outward. We have to achieve our objectives, and we don't want to waste any energy and resources in internal conflicts. Then we want ownership and accountability. We all make mistakes. Not everything works, but we want people, our collaborators, to accept responsibility, ownership. Yes, we will do better next time, not just trying to put the blame on their colleagues or somebody else. Then we want a responsible and sustainable development, not short-term, short-sighted, but in the long term. We want a spirit of consultation. Nobody, no matter how old or how qualified you are, you have all the answers. So it is important that we learn how to exchange with our peers, with their advisors, internal, external, etc., to consult with each other and to find the right answers to the existing problems. We want a spirit of service. We don't want our staff, be it in the production, in logistics, in the outlets, to interact because just they are getting paid for their services. We want them to have pleasure in giving pleasure and serving the others. So the spirit of service, which is then really felt and rewarded then by our customers in the long run. We believe in meritocracy and equal opportunity. This is one of the principles enshrined in the Indian Constitution, the equality of chances, and it is not enough when you enshrine and you put such a principle just in your the Constitution, but it is up to us individually and collectively to put it in practice and to show that it is possible. Now, the business is built on high-quality raw materials, authentic French offerings, excellent systems and processes, state-of-the-art production center. You see here, we really want these pictures were in the original list, but even if you come today to our to our production facility, you will not see much difference after 12 or 13 years. We had some of these equipment came from France, and we had technicians who came to visit and see what is the condition. They were very surprised how well they were maintained. In France, these kind of equipment, they are usually used over 30 years, 40 years. And very often, then if you buy modern ones, the old ones are repaired and they are sold in second market. So we are committed to that. We have created a fully immersive, authentic French experience. As Dr. Batra mentioned, it's not just about a piece of bread, a croissant, a pastry. You want to have the environment. It's experiential. You have to be there. You have the music, the decoration, etc. So this is what we have done. Now, as I mentioned, we started the preparation for our business in 2008. It was only in December 2009 that we decided to do the business. Then we opened our first outlets in the French Embassy, then Cannes Market, etc. In 2018, we also partnered with a significant strategic Indian partner, and as you see, in 2023, in total we opened many outlets, we closed some for good reasons, and in 2023 we have right now 17 outlets and 4 which are in planning. Now the sales revenues it looks exponential, it's true, it is like that. With the exception of 2020 and the 2021 and 2022, which were the COVID years, very tough. But we survived, and current year we are already at 140% of the pre-COVID revenues. One of our principles, with my excuses to Business World and to other magazines and the media, we decided to put our resources and the money in the quality of our products. So we do not advertise. We don't have budgets for paying magazines, etc. But if you go on our website, you will see we are being covered not because we pay magazines and editorialists, but because what we are and who we are. And we are very proud to see, there are many awards. There is one which is very close to our heart, which is the Times Food Awards, and we have been consistently, since the opening of the company, winning 1 or 2. The 2 is when it is for Delhi and Gurgaon. Consistently, many other awards as well. So the last one was the day before yesterday. This was the 2023 food awards that we won. Here, this year, we won both for Gurgaon and Delhi. Now, one of the things which also gave us great satisfaction was a book which was published by two professors of Delhi University, which is called The Jewels of the Indian Food and Beverage. This is, again, one of those things we were not involved. This is not paid, etc. And in the first section, which is about the restaurants, obviously, the best restaurant that you know, it's the Indian Accent, which figures as the best restaurant in India, and which is one of the best in Asia as well. And we were very touched that in the cafe section, the first business that is mentioned is l'Opéra. And you know, for a business that was initiated by some French people, only 15 years or 14 years old, we were very, very happy and honored that this recognition came to us. And here you will see a picture of a, will you give me 2 minutes more? It is, here are the cakes. This is the breads and Viennese. We produce every day 230 products. And then we have wedding cakes, we have a catering business, we have then a menu, salads, meals, sandwiches, and this is a full menu offering that, as Dr. Batra mentioned, you have it in several of our outlets. And this is a gifting collection for festivals. And this is a fact sheet. I already mentioned that. And I would like to finish my presentation by reading a touching words of Jean-Louis Clément. This is the gentleman, the elder gentleman on this picture. He is the founder of the famous Le Nôtre pastry and bakery school of France, who was also the first trainer. We always have also a French chef, by the way. And he wrote in his handwriting, "I thank l'Opéra for all the generosity and the quality of all efforts shown towards our profession. Bread is a symbol of peace and sharing." Signed in friendship, Jean-Louis Clément, Meilleur Ouvrier de France, and the class of 1993. Thank you so much for your attention.